Good morning and welcome to the next episode of the Really Big Lawn. Today's the day that I've actually been waiting on for a really long time. Today's the day where I can start to actually do something with the grass that we have out front. We're going to do the aeration, overseed, and fertilization of the front 12,000 square feet or so. So first things first, let's get everything kind of lined up and ready to go for this morning. With having 3 acres total here and about 2 acres of grass that we're going to mow, we're going to end up aerating a whole lot more space than what might be considered normal. So we're going to rent an aerator. Going to put it on the back of the tractor later today. I also do have a small aerator. Maybe I'll use that to get in some tight spaces. Got the spreader out for putting down a little bit of granular fertilizer and most importantly the seed. We've got the sprayer back here. I'm going to spray on some liquid fertilizer, and then we're going to start off by mowing the grass extra short so that the seedlings have a chance to catch up before we need to mow again. So kind of got everything pulled out equipment wise. Now let's work on the supplies that we're going to need. First item back here. Liquid fertilizer. Maybe using the next product. Never used these before. So I started to enjoy putting down the liquid fertilizer. Those are granular, so it's a little bit better coverage, probably a little faster reaction. I'm going to be using the Green Pop 16-21-2 spring starter fertilizer. Also the sea kelp that's in here. I thought, you know what, the lawn's been neglected for the last couple of months, or I should say year. It'd be a great place to start. Next in here, I've got several bags of organite. Just really felt, well, it's not a product that I use often, just felt that the lawn could probably use some organic material. Final product, and probably the most important, is the grass seed that you choose. Using the GCI turf. Turf type tall fescue grass seed is what I'd used in my previous lawn. I think turf type tall fescue for somebody that's not able to water every day seems to be a great product to stand up in the heat. Germination time is not as long as Kentucky bluegrass. Probably a little bit less maintenance than ryegrass. I think it's a great option for what we're going to do here. Even had some left over from last spring. Okay, so I think the first thing that we're going to start off by doing is cut the grass down pretty short here. So that allows us to, number one, aerate maybe a little bit more effectively. Number two, most importantly, once we plant the grass seed, it'll give us a couple more days before we're going to need to mow to let that grass seed kind of germinate, take root, get some viability to it before we need to start mowing it and going over it. Once it starts to sprout, we want to be on top of it as little as possible. I'm going to go ahead and choose to mow at about 2 inches right now. It's going to look terrible when we're done. I normally mow it at 3 3/4 to 4.5, depending on the time of year. We're going to mow it down at about 2 inches. See what it looks like when we're done. Stay tuned. we're going to go ahead and get the aerator unloaded out of the back of the truck. We're going to get it hooked up, get that process going next. So kind of the order of the day: mow, aerate, plant grass seed, put down Milorganite, and then we're going to finish up by spraying the Green County Fert, what's the name of it? Green Pop. So we're going to finish the day up by spraying the Green Pop. Covered? Are you locked on?
You gotta move your leg.
We ended up having a few pieces of old concrete. We just didn't have enough weight to be able to get the teeth to dig into the ground. One of the things that you can see here is the cores that are coming out of this core aerator. And it's really important, in my opinion, to use a core aerator. Pull an actual bit of dirt out, leaves a hole down in there for air to get down to the roots, water to get down to the roots, and then when we put the grass seed down, it gives more of a place for seed to contact soil, which is really important. Now, this ground is really pretty hard and hasn't been worked in a long period of time. I'd say I'm averaging pulling a core that's maybe 1.5 inches deep out. Wish it was substantially more over the years as we continue to put down more organic items, more organisms in the soil, more humic, and continue to aerate the lawn on a regular basis. We'll get to where it's the ground's a lot softer and we can get a lot more penetration from the aerator. So it's kind of where we are. I'm going to keep going over. I'm going to probably go over it 2, 3, maybe even 4 times.
I'm a strong believer of drilling. And drill holes, drill holes, drill holes.
Right.
See?
I'd take you on a quick walk out here and show you exactly what this is doing. Some of these spots that I've hit 3 or 4 times, you can really see how many holes that aerator is continuing to put in the ground. So, just giving the seed more places to fall so that it'll contact dirt, giving air and water the ability to get down to the roots, loosening the soil overall so that the grass has an easier time growing. It's really kind of the name of the game here. The other thing these cores allow you to do is really take a look at kind of the soil profile that you have. And one of the things that I'm noticing is, even though this is 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches, the top half of this is kind of some roots, but a lot of thatch and just kind of dead grass sitting in there. Then the bottom bit is just some clay, pretty hard soil. So this is really going to be helpful for the soil. Another good reminder why that Milorganite will be helpful as well. Hi, buddy. How are you?
Good.
Now that the aeration's done, next up, grass seed, the most important part. You know, I've got about 60 pounds of grass seed for 12,000 square feet. That's going to mean about 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet is what I'm going to want to put down. I have no idea what setting that is, what number that would be on the knob. So I'm going to set it so that the slit opens about 1/4 to 1/3 of the way, fill it up, and start going. You know, my hope is that that means that I'm going to have to do about 3 passes over the entire lawn. It's going to mean a lot better coverage, a lot more even coverage. It's going to mean a little bit more exercise, which is probably a positive for me anyways. And I think it's going to give us a better application overall. Whole lot better to start light, need to make extra passes rather than start really heavy, realize you're halfway done with the yard and almost all the way done with your seed, right? That ends up with a real disaster. So go small, small coats, light coats, multiple light coats is probably the best way to go. In order to apply the seed, I'm going to start by making a perimeter pass all the way around the outside. That's going to make sure that I don't throw grass seed into the flower beds. I'm going to try to do my best to control that. If I had a drop seeder, it would work even better. After I make my perimeter pass, then I'm going to make passes straight back and forth across the middle. When I'm doing that, I want to make sure that I'm throwing seed back to my previous wheel track so that we have overlapping coverage all the way across the yard. It's the easiest way to make sure that we don't miss anything. One of the things that you'll notice is that I continue to go over the spots that are the most bare. You know, like the spots that clearly have had the least amount of grass growing, maybe are in the thatchest areas, the areas that I then ended up aerating the most and tore up the most. Those are the areas that I continue to go over as I'm seeding the lawn. Timed it out to where tonight we're expecting looks like some light showers, which will be perfect. Hopefully we don't get any kind of washout. And with this ground being up higher anyways, we shouldn't get any flooding areas. So hopefully we get some rain tonight. Looks like rain 3 or 4 times within the next week. Pretty good chance. So hopefully that's what we continue to see. Don't want the seed drying out with those seedlings just starting to germinate and with the seed just starting to grow. Really don't want those getting baked in the sun. So if I have to, I do have a long hose and a like moving sprinkler. It's a tractor that spins and slowly chugs along as it goes. And so I can set up 150, 200 feet of hose. Can start it in the morning, let it run most of the day, move it to another area, let it run in the evening if that's what it comes to. But ideally, I've timed it out to where we're going to have some rain here over the next couple of days. Seed stays moist. Hopefully it germinates here pretty quickly. Hopefully there's enough holes in the lawn now to where seed falls down into there, and that they hold a little bit more moisture, stays a little bit more wet, and that those can germinate appropriately. I'm going to make a second video. I'm kind of going through the fertilization process, talk about why I'm using 2 different fertilizers, talk about how much nitrogen we're putting on, how much micronutrients we're putting onto the lawn here as well. Well, I think that's going to wrap up the rest of this video. Thanks. Have a blessed night.